This is FilmBookCast.
FilmBookCast.
FilmBookCast, the official podcast of FilmBook. Get ready for the latest in film news, TV show news, and theatrical reviews. FilmBook's podcast starts now.
Hello everyone, welcome to FilmBookCast, the official podcast of FilmBook. My name is Chris Banks. If you're tuning in for the first time, what I do on FilmBookCast, I discuss the latest film and TV show news. I also review an in-theater film sometimes. You can find more about FilmBookCast on film-book.com by using the search term FilmBookCast. You can also email us at podcast@film-book.com with FilmBookCast in the subject line. Let's jump right into it this week. Some film news from this week. Author Paul Tremblay has revealed to CNBC that M. Night Shyamalan's mysterious new project, Knock at the Cabin, is actually a direct film adaptation of his novel, The Cabin at the End of the World. And the synopsis of that book is the story concerns a family vacationing on a remote cabin in the woods where four strangers carrying unidentifiable menacing objects ask for help saving the world. We'll keep up with news about M. Night Shyamalan's mysterious new film, but interesting detail from the author of the original book that his film may be based on. Another exciting piece of film news, Faro Wunata, Paradis Sarimi, and Abby Quinn have signed on to star alongside Finn Halford, Billy Burke, and Fred Heschinger in Hell of a Summer, a contemporary horror comedy from 30 West that Wolfhard and Burke are directing, their feature film debut. Details on the film's plot have thus far been kept under wraps, but production is currently underway in Canada. The last bit of film news we'll talk about this week, Rob Zombie confirmed that his film adaptation of The Munsters will premiere on Netflix later this year. He tweeted, "This fall, we're going to spook out like it's 1964. Yep, the Addams Family and the Munsters are returning to the boob tube on the same time, courtesy of Netflix. It's been 58 years since this Clash of Titans first happened, and it's perfect entertainment for your pumpkin carving party. Exciting news for anybody of the Munsters and the Addams Family, count me one of them." That's it for film news for this week. This week in TV news, Sarah Michelle Gellar has joined the cast of The Wolf Pack. It's an upcoming series on Paramount Plus. She made a special appearance during the Teen Wolf panel at the San Diego Comic-Con on Thursday to announce the casting. Sarah joined previously announced leads Armani Jackson, Bella Shepherd, Chloe Rose Robertson, and Tyler Lawrence Gray. Wolf Pack is based on the book series of the same name by Canadian horror author Ido Van Belkom. The show focuses on two teenagers who are caught in a wildfire and who are wounded by a supernatural creature. In the aftermath, they discover they're werewolves and develop an intense bond together. The two team up and encounter two other teenagers, the adoptive children of a park ranger who went through a similar strange wildfire 16 years ago. Gellar stars as an arson investigator, Kristen Ramsey, a highly regarded expert in her field and no stranger to personal loss, brought in by authorities to catch the teenage arsonist who started the massive wildfire, which has also led to a reawakening of a supernatural predator terrorizing Los Angeles. Gellar is best known for her iconic turn as the title character in the Buffy the Vampire Slayer series. Some more TV news from this week. In a recent interview with the co-director Adil Arbi described Batgirl as a spaghetti of multiverses. You'll have to see the previous 33 DC movies to understand what happens, because you have J.K. Simmons from the Spideyverse, Michael Keaton from the Burtonverse. It's gonna be a delicious spaghetti, the director said. I'm sure of that. We'll keep up with news of Batgirl, but the co-director got me excited. The last bit of TV news we'll check out this week comes from Apple TV Plus, and the Godzilla Kong universe is getting expanded with a TV series from Apple TV Plus, and they just cast a father and son, Kurt and Wyatt Russell, but it's not confirmed whether they'll be playing father and son in the series. It'll be interesting to see what roles Kurt and Wyatt Russell will play in the Monsterverse for Apple TV Plus. We'll keep up with news about it. That's it for TV news from this week. This week in international movie news, there was a trailer release for a film that'll debut later this year at the Fantasia International Film Festival. The film is titled The Elderly, and it's about an octogenarian who's thought to be slipping into dementia is actually communicating with the paranormal. Check out the trailer for The Elderly. It'll premiere later on this year at the Fantasia International Film Festival. Another exciting piece of international film news, Lee Thompson and Stacey Farber will play mother and daughter in an upcoming Canadian Canadian series The Spencer Sisters. It's a 10-episode series focused on the hot-headed former police officer Darby Spencer and her estranged, internationally renowned mother, Victoria. They have opposite personalities, different sensibilities, and a complicated history, but still embark on the unlikeliest adventure, becoming partners in a private detective agency. The series is slated for 2023, and more details will come out later. Exciting news for any fans of a spy series. The last bit of international news, the forthcoming season of BBC's critically hit comedy series Ladhood will be its last. Liam Williams revealed that the series will end after season 3 because he's run out of memories, and he's thanked everyone who's worked on the show, and he said that he's extremely grateful. Bittersweet news for fans of Ladhood. That's it for international film news from this week. This week in home releases is the Bob's Burgers movie. Bob and Linda must work together to salvage their livelihood as a giant sinkhole threatens to envelop their hamburger restaurant and keep anyone from walking in the front door. Meanwhile, Tina, Jean, and Louise find themselves staring down a mysterious problem. As their parents look for creative ways to keep their business running, the kids work hard to crack the mystery and help save their summer in their family restaurant. The Bob's Burgers movie is now available on DVD. Minimata is now available on DVD. We reviewed this a few weeks ago, starring Johnny Depp. Minimata is not only a neurological disease caused by a severe mercury poisoning, but it's also the focus of W. Eugene Smith, a war photographer of the past, as he travels to Japan to investigate the disease and its effects. While along the coast of Japan, he documents the effects of each of the communities he visits, surprised by how much damage is left in the wake of the high levels of mercury in the fish eaten by the people of these communities. Minimata is now available on DVD. Let Them All Talk is now available on DVD. With her career and reputation at stake, this world-renowned author boards a cruise ship with her friends to reconnect and find some joy. But is friendship too far gone when trust has been broken for the sake of her books? With a young and eager literary agent in her ear and her nephew on board to keep tabs, this author faces a daunting possibility, the most stressful vacation imaginable. Let Them All Talk is now available on DVD. That's it for home releases from this week. This week in movie trailers gave us the clearest look yet at the upcoming Prey movie and what the Predator's alien bone mask will look like. Hulu released a trailer for the upcoming movie Prey, debuting August 5th, and you can check out the trailer, and it looks really, really good. Check out the trailer for Prey. It'll debut on Hulu August 5th. Another exciting movie trailer that came out this week came from Netflix, and the movie title is Carter. A sleeper agent is tasked to save the world from a zombie virus. Check out the trailer for Carter. It's a non-stop, real-time, extreme action spectacle. It'll premiere on Netflix August 5th. The last movie trailer we'll talk about this week is an exciting trailer from Olivia Wilde. Most everything about the fictional company town of Victory seems perfectly normal from a distance, as do the handful of picture-perfect nuclear families who can call the place home. But there's something sinister about Victory that at least one of its Stepford-esque housewives is becoming aware of. Check out the trailer for Don't Worry Darling. It'll be in theaters September 23rd. That's it for movie trailers. This week in TV trailers, Disney gave us the first look to National Treasure: Edge of History. It's an original series that is streaming soon only on Disney+. It was revealed during the San Diego Comic-Con, and Lizette Alexis stars as Jess Morales, a resourceful young treasure hunter who sets out on an adventure of a lifetime to find out more about her family's mysterious past, as well as save a lost Pan-American treasure. Additionally, Harvey Keitel will reprise the role of Peter Sadusky from the original movies. Check out the teaser trailer for National Treasure: Edge of History. It is streaming soon on Disney+. Another TV trailer that was debuted at the San Diego Comic-Con panel is the upcoming Peacock series Vampire Academy. Based on Rochelle Mead's book series of the same name, it tells a story of friendship, romance, and danger. In a world of privilege and glamour, two young women's friendships transcend their strikingly different classes as they prepare to complete their education and enter vampire society. One is a powerful royal, the other half of a vampire guardian trained to protect against the savage Strigoi who threaten to tear their society apart. That is, if royal infighting doesn't do the job first. Check out the teaser for Vampire Academy. It'll debut on Paramount Plus September 15th. The last TV trailer we have to talk about House of the Dragon from HBO. The highly anticipated sequel to Game of Thrones gave us the first real trailer this week. This series will bring us a great look at the beginning of the Targaryen Empire. And this fan of Game of Thrones is very concerned about how cheap it looks compared to the first series. But check out the trailer for House of the Dragon. House of the Dragon will debut on HBO August 21st. All right, time for this week's movie review. For this week's movie review, we're finally going to talk about The Black Phone. Directed by Scott Derrickson, it stars Mason Thames, Madeline McGraw, Jeremy Davies, James Ransom, and Ethan Hawke. It's brought to us by Universal Pictures. Finney Shaw is a shy but clever 13-year-old boy who's being held in a soundproof basement by a sadistic masked killer. When a disconnected phone on the wall starts to ring, he soon discovers that he can hear the voices of the murderer's previous victims, and they are dead set on making sure that what happened to them doesn't happen to Finney. The Black Phone has been out for about 3 weeks. It's now available on video on demand, but I saw it in the movie theaters, and I saw it a little late. I wish I saw it on opening weekend, but I am very impressed by The Black Phone. I love Ethan Hawke as an actor. I'm not too familiar with what Scott Derrickson has done as a director, but Finney Shaw is played by Mason Thames. Madeline McGraw plays his sister Gwen. Jeremy Davies plays their father, Terrence, and I do love the story. The story's a little cliche for a horror movie. Fans of horror movies will be familiar with the family, the composition of the family, what happened to the family. I do like how modern the interpretation is. It makes the film a more powerful modern horror movie, I think. And Ethan Hawke as a serial killer called the Grabber, we don't see him for about a half an hour into the film, which is, in my opinion, the first sign that you're in for a good horror movie. You shouldn't see the killer for a while. And we don't see the Grabber for a little while. We get to know Mason Thames. We get to know Finney and Gwen, and we get to have a sense of the awesome, relationship that they have. But then we get introduced to the Grabber, and it's very powerfully done. I love the imagery of the balloons, the idea of the van, how he's masked and painted and stuff. It's very, very well done. It almost reminds me of, it's got like elements of Saw in there, but also, all the classic horror movies, all the classic horror themes that are in all the movies that we love from the 60s, 70s, 80s. The Black Phone touches on all of them, in whether they're in imagery or in story or in the setting of a basement, in the soundproofing of that basement. It reminded me of Psycho in how, the Grabber uses his house as the same thing from Leatherface. And it's the best of classic horror, while also introducing all of these new elements of that are unique to the Black Phone. Because the Grabber, I've never really seen a villain like the Grabber, because he's a normal person. So he reminds me of Leatherface in a way, but he also reminds me of Psycho. That's what's new about the Grabber, and I love that. It was really new. The way that they used the setting up the scenes in the basement are very new, and it reminds me of Saw. But the phone on the wall, who is calling the phone, the use of the ghost imagery within the movie is all brand new. I've never seen that before, and it's very, very effective. The way they use framing in the film is very effective for its storytelling, and it also really harkens back to the best of horror, because Stanley, really used framing to help tell his story and tell a horror film in a more powerful way, in a scarier way, and the Black Phone does that as well. I knew that Ethan Hawke was going to be good as the Grabber, but I didn't know just how good he was going to be. I think that Ethan Hawke may be one of America's greatest actors. The Grabber is so compelling and unique as a villain. The reviews are accurate, I think. Everyone seems to really like this movie. There's not that many people who don't like this movie, and there's a reason for that. The Grabber can either be comical in its interpretation or haunting, and Ethan Hawke brings a haunting, compelling, really rich presentation to a role that could have went the other way. And the build-up of seeing Finney try to get out of the basement, and the way they introduce the phone within the story, and how the cops are always trying to piece the puzzle together in the larger story, it makes for a very compelling film, and it makes for a very good time watching it. It's under 2 hours. I think it's an hour and 45 minutes, but it's very, very good. I really relate it to Psycho because it's rich. There's the house, his basement, as a character in and of itself. The Black Phone justifies and honors the best of horror film from the 60s, 70s, and 80s while introducing new elements and new characters and new storylines, like having a sister, in Gwen, be the stronger of the two. It makes for a beautiful movie. The Black Phone is a very, very well done film. I would give it an 8.5 out of 10. It's probably one of the better horror movies I've seen in a long time. I applaud, Universal Pictures for making sure that it's in cinemas and not just on a streaming service. Because the Black Phone allows audiences to see what the future of horror can be in story. I'm sure that we're going to get a whole new breadth of horror films moving forward in an interactive kind of way. Not really interactive, but in a more 3D kind of immersive environment going forward. I can see that happening. The Black Phone is a great story. Those kind of bigger screens and more higher tech films going forward, I think, will be centered in the comic book world. And The Black Phone represents, a film like Psycho, a film like the Amityville Horror, just a classic story that was written, it's an original story, and it's based on the book The Black Phone by Joe Hill. Check it out if you haven't read it. I haven't read it, but I may check it out because it's an incredibly well done movie. Congratulations to Scott Derrickson, and really, really great acting by Mason Thames and Madeline McGraw and Jeremy Davies. And again, you can't talk about The Black Phone without just praising Ethan Hawke's performance as the grabber. Like I said, Ethan Hawke may be one of the 21st century American greatest actors. And thank you for everyone who did it, because it really gives us a taste of what the future of horror films can be in cinema. Go check out The Black Phone if it's still in theaters around you. It might be on video on demand, so go rent it. And definitely watch The Black Phone. For fans of horror, it's one of the better horror films I've seen in the last few years. Check out The Black Phone. I hope you like it as much as I did, and thanks so much for checking us out this week. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of FilmBookCast. You can find more of my work on film-book.com. Just search for Chris Banks or FilmBookCast. You can also find me on Twitter at @CBanksy, SEE Banksy. I'm also on Instagram at The Chris Banks. If you listen to this podcast on iTunes or another podcast service, please rate and review this episode. If you're listening to this podcast on our YouTube channel, FilmBook Podcast, please like our video, subscribe to our channel, and leave us a comment in the comments section. It really helps people discover our podcast. Please also consider becoming one of our patrons on patreon.com/filmbook. Your support helps us create more engaging content. You'll find our Patreon link below in the description. If you want to tweet about this podcast, just use the hashtag FilmBookCast. Tune in next week for the next episode of the FilmBookCast. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll see you then.